Meghan and Harry have spoken publicly about their battle against cyberbullying, and there's quite a stir about their upcoming tour destination.
Meanwhile, the Prince and Princess of Wales are opting for a unique and rather different parenting approach compared to previous generations of royals.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into one of the most talked about interviews in the world of royals. Meghan and Harry's recent CBS interview. The couple is stirring up major conversations with their comments on mental health, cyberbullying, and their relationship with the royal family.
And there's encouraging news regarding the princess's health.
Hello and welcome to Heirs and Spares, the show where we bring you insight and opinion into the lives of two rather famous royal couples on either side of the Atlantic. I'm Kinsey Schofield, and I'll be bringing you updates on the Duke and Duchess of Sussex right here in California.
And I'm Katie Nicholl, and I'll have all the latest news, although there's not much because they're on holiday, from the Prince and Princess of Wales here in the UK. But Kinsey, one of the stories that I'd just like to kick off with was in the Sunday papers, and it was nothing terribly new, I would say, but an interesting insight, I think, into William and Kate and their parenting approach and just how different it is to previous generations of royals. So, whereas traditionally royal children have been very much the domain of the royal nursery and royal parents have been, I suppose, quite remote because of the nature of their work, we're seeing William and Kate do things very differently. And I think, the reason for this story was that they've disappeared from the sort of public spotlight. They're enjoying this wonderful, very down-to-earth, normal bucket and spade holiday in Norfolk, although there have been rumours that they've escaped to Mustique. We'll discuss that a little bit later on. But I think this whole idea of their approach to parenting has been so very refreshing and different that it always seems to attract attention. And as I say, this was a story in the Sunday newspaper sort of pointing out that they don't have a nanny that lives with them, just how hands-on they are at home with George, Charlotte and Louis, and that, even throughout all of her cancer ordeal, her treatment and her recovery, that the princess has been really hands-on in all of that as well. They are living, don't forget, in a 4-bedroom apartment. They could be in the 21-room apartment at Kensington Palace, but they've chosen to have a much quieter, low-key existence. And with that, a more hands-on approach to royal parenting. I mean, how does that go down in the States, Kinsey? Because I often find when I'm sort of engaging with an American audience, they find it quite hard to believe that the family live as, of course they live a privileged lifestyle. It would sound silly to say that they don't, but they live in such a sort of a normal way without staff and valets and dressers and nannies and everything else.
Absolutely, and I do think that we were so engaged in Prince Charles and Princess Diana's lifestyle, where Prince Charles did seem to always be on the road, always working, or I believe he spent a significant time at Highgrove, and it was Diana that had to put the boys in the car and head over to see him because they were at Kensington Palace. It is unique to see a family that seems so normal and so close, and they express love so much more openly than previous generations.
Was the interview too provocative? Did it reopen old wounds for the royal family? Stick around as we break it all down. Meghan shared personal struggles from her time in the royal spotlight, speaking candidly about how online attacks have affected her well-being. While the interview was powerful, it didn't come without controversy.
But Americans absolutely love it. They love to see Louis. They love to see the way that the Princess of Wales interacts with her children, holding their hands, playing with their hair. Again, we are just such big Prince and Princess of Wales fans here in the States. And that normality, I think, is one of the things that really attracts us to them, because they could just disappear and stay on the road. And their ultimate objective has always seemed to be make these children normal, make sure they know they're loved, make sure they're protected, and have an upbringing that was far different from Prince William's.
Yeah, well, when you think about Prince William's upbringing, Diana was very hands-on. I think I think her and Charles together really broke that mold of royal parenting. You know, the Queen, let's not forget when Anne and Charles were very young, set off on that big, ambitious Commonwealth tour. You know, Diana and Charles, when they had to go to the other side of the world, decided that they were going to take a very young Prince William. I think he was only 9 months at the time. And, you know, that was definitely changing things. It was definitely doing things differently. I think that sort of laid the blueprint. I think we've seen William and Kate sort of pushing the parameters ever more so. I mean, I think the idea that the future king and queen live in a pretty modest 4-bedroom cottage when they could be living in, you know, the splendour of Kensington Palace with whatever staff they wanted. You know, I think it's a really good thing because I think it makes them look modern. I think it makes them look in touch. I think, Kinsey, when you consider the Prince of Wales and some of the criticism he's had over the years, you know, for allegedly having a valet who squeezed toothpaste onto his toothbrush, you know, that idea of sort of spoilt royalty, I think does them no favours. So I think the fact that they have these sort of pretty rustic bucket and spade holidays in Norfolk, I mean, they don't even have a nanny living in with them anymore. And Maria Barallo was working with them for, you know, for well, most of George's life and up until recently was living in. But when they move to Adelaide Cottage in Windsor, they didn't actually have the space for any staff. And I think, you know, they really enjoy that, just being a family of 4. And I think people are surprised by how hands-on they are, whether that's doing the school run or cooking a meal. One of the really interesting things in this article is how the children all have chores to do, you know, whether that's setting the table or loading the dishwasher. They're getting involved in these tasks. And I think, in a way, when you consider how Diana raised William and Harry, you know, she was determined to show them a life outside of palace walls. That's why she took them to see homeless people. That's why she took them to those shelters, so that they understood there was a life outside of the palace. And I think, you know, William and Kate are continuing in that and just doing it.
Meghan made several provocative statements that have left fans and critics alike in shock. The royal family has been through a lot over the past few years, and Meghan and Harry's interview is just one more chapter in that ongoing saga. Does the royal family have a right to feel unsettled every time Meghan and Harry speak out?
Perhaps in an even more extreme way. I mean, I don't know how many tables William and Harry had to lay as children. I expect not very many. They used to love to go downstairs and get midnight feasts with Diana, and the chef would sort of treat them to their favourite things. But I don't think they did. I don't think they were as involved in family life in the same way that George, Charlotte and Louis. And I think for this modern generation of royals, William and Kate's hands-on parenting is just perfect. I think it makes them seem real and relatable and very in touch.
Oh my goodness, I love that. And I was talking to you before we started recording. You and I were kind of visualizing the Wales family all sitting around the living room, watching the Olympics, engaged in the games. This is a sports-driven family. I cannot imagine how emotionally invested they all are in the Olympics this year.
They will be. I mean, I'm thinking back to 2012 and those wonderful pictures of William and Kate, you know, so young, so in love, so carefree, you know, before children, and, you know, when hugging each other when England did well. And Great Britain are doing really well in this tournament. You know, they're scooping the goals. I think they're currently in 5th place and they're doing really well. So I think there's a bit of speculation as to whether we will see William pop up at the Olympics. I would personally say don't hold your breath, but will they be watching it at home on the screen at home? 100%. I mean, we know that they love sports. As you pointed out, there was that lovely picture of 2 of the children watching the football in the final, Charlotte and Louis, who didn't get to go to Berlin to watch the match. William, of course, took George, but it didn't matter. They were still involved with the excitement of that England final. And I think as a family, they'll be involved in the excitement of Great Britain doing so well in the Olympics. Because as you say, Kinsey, they're a very, very sporty family. And watching sport as much as taking part in it is a real treat for them.
All right, well, if we should not expect to see them at the Olympics, and it's like you said, 50-50, maybe we will, maybe we won't. It's just a rumor that's circulating. Might they continue to travel as a family throughout the holiday?
Let me know what you think in the comments, and if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button so you can stay updated on everything happening with Meghan and Harry. Will this ever get resolved, or is this a permanent rift? Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.